3 hauntingly sinister true stories of home alone terror, exposed secrets and unexplained nightmares. Sarah was already on edge, her heart hammering in her chest as Lily clutched her doll tightly, eyes wide with the kind of fear only children know. The old creaks of their Maplewood home felt amplified, as if the walls themselves whispered sinister secrets in the night. After working her graveyard shift as a nurse, she'd come home to a shroud of darkness that seeped through the cracks of their cozy sanctuary. Each time the wind howled, Sarah jumped, adopting a new paranoia with each dark gust. Then there were the sounds, strange, echoing noises that seemed to travel from room to room. A soft tap here, a low groaning there, indistinct murmurs that rose and fell like the waves of a turbulent ocean. Forgetting her exhaustion, Sarah squeezed her daughter's hand, forcing a smile that felt false. "It's just the house settling," she assured Lily, though the chill creeping up her spine told a different story. As the nights wore on, the atmosphere grew heavier. The shadows lengthened, creeping toward them like silent specters. It didn't help that the neighbors were always smiling, waving from their manicured lawns as if everything was perfect in their quaint suburb. Yet, there was an unsettling dissonance beneath that polished exterior. Something was off, too perfect. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. One bleak morning, the horrifying reality struck harder than any ghostly noise. The locks on the doors had been broken, the window screens slashed. As Sarah stood frozen, her stomach dropped. A wave of dread washed over her. Security, a delicate illusion, shattered in an instant. Who could do this? The thought hung over her, clinging like fog on a winter morning. Her instincts kicked in. She started snooping on her neighbors, in the shadows she once felt safe within. The lovely Mrs. Daniels next door, with her endless baking and warm welcomes, had a son who never left the house. And Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. At every turn, other neighbors seemed to share guarded looks and hushed whispers. A brutal truth began to unspool, a hidden danger lurking in the shadows of their idyllic community. When Lily's prized doll vanished, panic surged through Sarah, whispering taunts just like the darkened corners of her mind. The very air felt charged, electric with something sinister. That same night, she caught a glimpse of a shadow tall and thin, lurking just outside their window. The figure was still, like a statue, but its presence rippled with threat. Her heart stopped. It was as if someone knew their every move, danced to their daily rhythm, shaking the delicate balance of fear and care into a chaos she never anticipated. As darkness surrendered to dawn, the real horror began to unravel, entwining her survival with something ancient and terrifying, something that stretched beyond her quiet street, linked to a local legend that had taken root in the town's history. The curtains, pulled back too quickly, revealed truths better left undisturbed. The line between home and horror blurred, leaving Sarah with an agonizing question: could she protect Lily from the lurking evil? Or were they trapped in a story far darker and deadlier than she could ever have imagined? Sarah jolted awake, heart racing, the shadow still looming in her memory. She glanced over at Lily, fast asleep, her doll clutched tightly against her chest. Yet that comfort was deceiving. The house felt colder now, unwelcoming in the pre-dawn light. Outside, the distant caw of crows echoed, a stark warning seeping through the thin walls. She slipped out of bed, her feet brushing against the cold hardwood floor. The chill prickled against her skin like fingertips of dread. A flash of light caught her eye. The lamp in the living room flickered as if struggling against an unseen force. Taking a deep breath, Sarah moved toward the hallway, her senses sharp. As she passed the window, she couldn't help but glance outside. Nothing, just the vast stretch of quiet, desolate yards, each house casting long, eerie shadows in the early morning light. But as she turned away, She paused, instinct screaming at her to look again. Was that a figure in the distance? It was gone before she could fully make out its shape, but she felt it, a gaze born of malice tracing her every move. Her stomach twisted, and she hurried to the living room, her mind racing with images of darkness intersecting with reality. She flipped on the lamp. It flickered but held steady, bathing the room in a weak golden glow. A false sense of security washed over her, but it was short-lived as she turned to the front door, the splintered locks reminding her of their vulnerability. Lily stirred, mumbling something in her sleep. The innocence brought a pang of warmth in Sarah's chest, but lingering fears quickly stomped that warmth out. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was something terribly wrong. Suddenly, there it was again, the sound that had haunted her nights. A soft knock. It came again, this time louder, insistent. Heart hammering, Sarah moved cautiously toward the door. With each step, her gut clenched tighter, urging her to turn back. But she had to know. "Hello?" she called, her voice trembling. Silence answered, stretching seconds into a taut string of tension. Tentatively, she swung the door open just enough to peek through the crack. Instinctively raising her hands, she pressed them against the door, her pulse thundering as she scanned her front porch. Empty. Just as she was about to pull back, something caught her eye. A small, weathered box sat directly in front of her doorstep, littered with dirt and leaves. It looked old, like it had been buried there for decades. She opened the door wider, curiosity battling her fear, and knelt to investigate. As she reached for the box, she noticed strange symbols carved into its surface. They writhed and shifted under her touch, an unnerving sensation that danced along her skin. Then the world around her twisting, reality flickering at the edges. She pulled her hand back abruptly, her mind racing. What was this? Suddenly, Lily's frightened wail pierced through the tension, snapping Sarah back to the present. Panic roared to life as she dashed into the house. The air felt heavy, drenched with foreboding as she rushed to her daughter. Inside Lily's room, the air was suffocating. The doll lay abandoned in the corner. But it was not only that. A cold breeze rushed past Sarah, the temperature plummeting as if a door had opened into another realm. The shadows seemed to twist and bend, morphing into shapes that whispered her name, beckoning her into an abyss. In that moment, a bone-chilling thought gripped her. What if the evil was not just lurking in the old house, but had seeped into the very fabric of their lives? And what about the box? Was it a warning, or a key into deeper terrors? With renewed determination, she knew she had to find out what lay inside it. But what if it awakened something that was never meant to be disturbed? The world shrank around her as shadows danced in the corners, weaving a tapestry of dread. She held on to Lily's hand tightly, her next step critical. She was standing at the precipice of a dark truth that awaited just beneath the surface. But what if digging deeper into that mystery unleashed horrors that would change their lives forever? The answer was calling, and that call could not be ignored. Sarah's breaths came in quick, shallow gasps as she plunged further into the suffocating darkness of Lily's room. The shadows twisted ominously, and for a moment, she could have sworn they were watching her, waiting. She couldn't let her fear show. Lily needed her. "Sweetheart, what's wrong?" Sarah asked, her voice quavering. She rushed to the bed and wrapped her arms around Lily, who was trembling with her eyes wide open, reflecting the pale light from the hallway. "It's the doll, Mommy. It talked." Lily's voice wavered, punctuating the awfulness of the moment. "What do you mean?" The air felt heavier, lining her throat with ice. "The doll, it said my name and whispered things." Her tiny hands clutched Sarah's shirt. Anxiety clawed at Sarah's insides. I heard it, and it went all quiet like." Lily's wide eyes darted toward the puppet-like figure in the corner. The beautiful porcelain doll, with its golden curls and a smile frozen in time, sat where it had always been, its empty gaze feeling disturbingly alive. A chill ran through Sarah. "It's okay, honey. It's just a doll," she murmured, though doubt crept in, seeping through her words. "Not just a doll," Lily whispered, her breaths quickening. The floor creaked underfoot, pulling Sarah's gaze back to the door. The faint sound of rhythmic knocks echoed through the walls. They weren't just knocks. They were urgent, deliberate, alive. They came from the front door, beckoning her to come closer. Her heart raced in her chest, a frantic drumbeat contrasting against the spine-tingling silence that followed each knock. "Stay here," Sarah commanded, yet her voice trembled. She couldn't let her daughter feel her fear. Not now. But every nerve in her body screamed for her to turn heel. With hesitant steps, she moved toward the door, each creak of the floor amplifying the impending dread. As she reached for the knob, a flicker of the lamp caught her eye again. The living room was drenched in a ghostly hue. Shadows writhed ahead of her. Suddenly, she remembered the box, the symbols, their frantic wriggling, the link to whatever haunted them now. The insistent knocks grew louder, echoing in her skull. She yanked the door open, staring fiercely at the empty porch. Then, at her feet, she saw it. The box, untouched, unmoving. No explanation made sense. Had the universe brought it back to her? In a violent rush of self-doubt, her fingers trembled as they reached for the box. What truths lay within? She swung the box open, and a gust of icy air rushed forth, tearing through her soul. Inside was a collection of pictures, each depicting small girls, Lily's age, with the same porcelain doll in their hands. Memory crashed down upon her, flashes of other families, other homes, the same whispers. The last one had her own name scribbled across the back. Sarah felt like a dagger twisting in her chest. Was this a warning? A symbiotic bond through dark forces? The air thickened, and a shadow slithered alongside her, a dark shape blending seamlessly into the night. "Mommy, it's behind you!" Lily screamed, her voice a pure, tiny reflection of terror. Time stopped. Sarah instinctively turned, heart throbbing like a loaded gun about to explode. The doll was gone. The corner of the room was now empty, the emptiness echoing back to her. As she crouched to shield Lily, a grand malice loomed around them, and the very walls seemed to twist, the air yelling in their ears. What if the darkness that had once lingered just outside was now spiraling closer than ever? As dread settled like a growing cloak, Sarah's mind raced with questions. Would they awaken the horror if they sought to delve deeper? Would loss consume them all? And just as fear was about to swallow them whole, a whisper floated into the night. "You can't escape." Her pulse thundered in her ears, mingling with Lily's sobs. How could she fight something without a face? The figures were living shadows in the corners of their lives, prowling with secrets. But something had to be done. Could she summon the courage to confront the malevolence that had intertwined itself with their existence before it took everything? Or would they become just another page in the ledger of lost souls? The chilling silence enveloped them, and as another shadow moved, Sarah could sense that the true nightmare was just beginning. A piercing chill swept through the room, wrapping around Sarah and Lily like a suffocating shroud. Every fiber in Sarah's body tensed as she felt the weight of unseen eyes pricking at the back of her neck. The tiny hairs on her arms stood in defiance of the unnatural cold. Panic surged through her, yet she forced herself to stay calm despite the adrenaline racing through her veins. "Lily, we need to get out of here," she whispered, her voice barely audible against the oppressive quiet. But as she began to rise, doubt struck her hard. What lay beyond the sanctuary of the bedroom? Would they be safer outside? The shadows in the corners seemed to deepen, darkened tendrils creeping forward, stretching. Her breath quickened. With trembling hands, she clutched the box tighter, as if its contents held the key to their survival. But those photographs, they were more than eerie. They were a bridge to something sinister, a history she likely should have left buried. "Stay close to me," she commanded, finding her composure as she turned her body to shield Lily completely. Together, they crept toward the doorway, heartbeats muffled by walls that seemed to close in. Each step crackled with a palpable tension, as if the house itself was anticipating their every move. Lily's eyes, wide and gleaming with terror, searched Sarah's face. "Mommy, what if it comes back?" Her voice quivered, barely a whisper, but it cut deep. "I won't let it," Sarah promised, even though she could hear the tremor in her own voice. She swung the door open, revealing the dark hallway beyond, each shadow pulsing ominously. An unseen force tugged at her, pulling her toward the unknown. They stepped into the hallway, hearts racing. The air felt thick, suffocating, filled with unspoken words that hung in the gloom. A single light flickered ahead, the only struggle to break through the darkness. Sarah L. craned her neck, listening. The rhythmic knocks had stopped. Just as she stepped forward, the candles in the living room flickered back to life, one by one, illuminating the space in a wrong kind of warmth. It felt mocking, the dancing flame a cruel trick in the face of their horror. "Mommy," Lily tugged at Sarah's sleeve, her voice barely above a whisper. "The doll is watching us." Closure clawed at Sarah's mind as she hesitated, fear flooding through her. She stood at a crossroads, an uncertain blur of dread creeping toward her, heart racing faster at the thought of turning back, yet fighting against the pull to move forward. Suddenly, a creaking sound echoed from the living room, louder than before. It echoed, breaking the silence in a deafening crash. It felt as if the air shattered, something ancient and powerful awakening. "Lily, hide," Sarah barked, urgency driving her voice. But Lily's little legs found that sweet freedom in running straight to her mother. And then it happened. The doll, the porcelain figure, stood in the middle of the room, smiling wrongly, the once muted eyes sparkling with malevolence. Its grin was wide, impossibly wide, stretching as it tilted its head to one side. A low, chilling giggle rolled through the air, reverberating off the walls. Sarah the doll spoke, its voice sweet yet laced with ice. "You're just like them." Her breath caught. The fear was not just for herself now, but for her daughter. The walls closed in. The whispers echoed around them, growing louder, more insistent, as memories of the other girls flowed through her mind like a sickening tide. "We need to go. Now," Sarah yelled, grappling for Lily's hand. As they turned, something cold and powerful wrapped around her ankle, yanking her back. She fell, a scream bubbling in her throat. In that moment, the chaos in her head scattered, and clarity cruelly struck her. Hadn't she always been drawn to the darkness? Hadn't she opened the box? "Help! Mommy!" Lily's cries mixed with a cacophony of laughter that ricocheted through the house, merging with the shadows that were now swirling, writhing, and growing larger. Fingers trembling, Sarah fought against the pull, desperation wrapping around her heart. In icy fingers, "I won't let you take her," she screamed into the dark. But as the doll's grin widened further, embracing the shadows, she felt it a chilling clarity. Something's lurking, waiting in the chaos. Something that wanted her to let go. And in the darkest recess of the room, she sensed a voice, soft yet commanding, whispering through the scream of silence. Welcome home. Would they escape the grip of the shadows? Or was the darkness always meant to claim them? Sarah's resolve faltered as the laughter crescendoed, intertwining with a promise of despair. In that moment, she understood one primal truth. Escape wasn't the answer. The fight had just begun. The grip on Sarah's ankle loosened suddenly, as if the doll had decided to let her go for now. She scrambled to her feet, instinct forcing her to move, to act. "Lily!" she screamed, but the house swallowed her voice whole. The laughter faded into a sinister whisper, slipping around the walls like a fog. Uncertainty twisted her gut. Where was Lily? Panic twisted like a knife in her chest. "Stay close, my love," she shouted, rushing deeper into the living room where the flickering candles cast long shadows that danced with malevolent glee. As she stumbled through the room, adrenaline pulsing through her, she cast one desperate glance at the doll. It stood still now, a grotesque statue at the center of the turmoil, its porcelain face reflecting the flickering light, the smile a grim challenge. The shadows shifted again, almost lunging toward Sarah as she frantically searched. "Lily!" she cried again, but her heart sank as silence claimed the house. The dark corners seemed to rear back, a living entity filled with threatening energy, making her bones ache with dread. And then, She heard it all too clear, Lily's faint whimper coming from the nearby kitchen. A flash of hope ignited in her chest. Sarah rushed towards the sound, her heart hammering, her breath shallow. "Mommy!" Lily's voice cracked, chased with fear. "Hold on. I'm coming." Rounding the corner, Sarah stumbled into the kitchen, her eyes scanning wildly. The room was shadowed, dim, but everything was still. More memories stirred nightmares that didn't belong, cycles of pain and hurt, and suddenly the air grew sticky thick. And there she was. Lily stood in front of the refrigerator, her small hands grasping an old rag doll, the very same doll that had been in the photographs. A chill raced through Sarah's spine. How could this be? It was the very curse they were running from. "Lily, drop the doll." Sarah shrieked in horror, her voice trembling. "Get away from it." Lily's head turned slowly to look at her mother, a vacant expression painting her delicate face. The world around them felt alive, writhing with shadows, yet Lily stood perfectly still. "But Mommy, it wants to play." The happiness in her daughter's innocent words twisted into blooming dread in Sarah's heart. She lunged forward but felt the air itself push back, bloated with pressure. The shadows swirled, clashing and spreading uncertainty in every direction. "Lily!" Sarah shouted again, the name a desperate plea wrapped in fear. With each passing second, the darkness thickened, and Lily remained transfixed, the doll calling to her, its smile gleaming brighter. A bead of sweat traced down Sarah's back as she fought against a rising wave of despair splashing over her sanity. The shadows shrieked now, voices erupting from the walls, whispers of the girls lost to time, echoing with haunting elegy. "You're just like them, no!" Sarah screamed, her own voice becoming lost in the cacophony of laughter, terror and madness melding into a nightmarish chorus. "You won't take my daughter." In a surge of resolve, she reached for Lily, but a blast of icy wind knocked her backward, sending her crashing into the wall. Pain shot through her body, but she pushed through, looking back at Lily, whose eyes were wide and glimmering with something dark. "Mommy," Lily whispered, voice like a sing-song taunt. "Now you need to come play too." Time froze, breaths were shallow as Sarah began to realize somehow she would have to confront her own darkness to save her child. The weight of the house, the shadows, the doll, all were echoes of her own fear and regret. Fighting against cold despair, she clawed her way up the wall, rising to face that cosmic horror. "No, I will fight you. I will fight for her." With a surge of desperation, she dashed toward Lily only to feel the pull of the shadows wrapping around her like a suffocating blanket. The whispers grew deafening. She reached out, fingers brushing against Lily's hand, and under the chaos, she could feel a warmth pulsing. And suddenly the doll's laughter morphed into something darker, a voice resonating through the storm. "You think you're the first to come here? You're bound, Sarah." Forever. The reality of what that meant petrified her. Even if they broke free today, there would always be a cost. What if the darkness couldn't be escaped? What if it already existed within her? With every ounce of strength, Sarah lifted her chin defiantly, ready to draw on that very darkness. The answer to their survival lay just beyond the threshold. A haunted choice loomed ahead, one that could seal their fates forever. As the shadows surged around them, a thought flickered in her mind, unshakable and chilling. Was it too late to save them both? What new horror awaited them if they didn't? She had to choose. Who would she become? The air grew colder, thick with dread, wrapping around Sarah like a vice. She felt the shadows pulsing, pushing back against her resolve, as if they could sense her fear. The whispers climbed, becoming a chorus of taunts and lamentations, all swirling around her, filling her head with chaos. "Mommy, please come play." Lily's voice danced on the edge of sanity, sweet yet laced with something sinister. No longer the innocent child, she looked like a puppet caught in a twisted theater, pulled by the unseen hands of the doll. "Lily, I'm right here. Fight it." Sarah screamed, desperation clawing at her throat. She reached out to her daughter, frantic, but each step felt like moving through molasses. The shadows conspired, coiling tighter with every heartbeat. Then, in the dimness, the doll stirred, Its smile flickered, growing wider, exposing an impossibly jagged grin. Something ancient and malevolent shone in its glassy eyes. "She's mine now," the voice echoed, more visceral than before, reverberating off the kitchen walls. A sharp pain shot through Sarah's chest. Her thoughts spiraled as she grasped at the roots of her own darkness. What if she had brought this upon them? The nights spent alone, shadows creeping in the corners of her mind, the fears she tried to bury. No, she choked, resisting the whirlwind around her. You don't get to claim her. But with every ounce of will, it felt like she was losing herself to the darkness engulfing the room. The shadows pulled at her soul, wrapping around her heart, squeezing tightly. She felt cold and fragmented, her identity slipping like grains of sand between clenched fingers. "Mommy!" Lily cried, a sharp cut in the fevered whispers that surrounded them. "Help me!" But Lily stood unmoving, her gaze still fixed on the doll. In that moment, Sarah remembered stories of those who had faced their demons. The ones who rode the edge of despair only to snatch back the light at the last possible second. She had to awaken that inner strength. She had to believe there was still hope. "Not today," Sarah shouted, drawing on a well of fury and love that surged from deep within. The ground beneath her trembled, echoes of truth rising in her voice, shattering the chaos. "We will not play your cursed game." The shadows thrashed like beasts in a cage, recoiling from her words as the power of her conviction cut through the darkness. "Lily," she called again, focusing only on her daughter. "Look at me. You're stronger than this." For a heartbeat, it seemed the damning magic that ensnared Lily faltered. Panic flickered across the child's face. She blinked rapidly as if waking from a dream. But then the pressure returned, twisting through the air like a serpent tightening its hold. Suddenly, the laughter hissing through the air shifted, becoming desperate and loud. "No, you cannot." It was the doll, its voice a wretched amalgamation of all the lost souls it had consumed. Sarah took another step, feeling the weight of the house press harder, but she wouldn't back down. "We are not done yet." With the last of her strength, she lunged forward, hand outstretched toward Lily. Then, in an explosive flash of light and sound, something erupted from the shadows. The room shook, the doll's face contorting, and in that instant, reality splintered. The walls of the kitchen began to ripple, as if the house itself had been wounded. Sarah's heart raced as memories rushed back. Those same shadows that promised safety once before, now turned into apparitions that clawed at her from the depths. She would have to face all of it, her deepest fears manifesting in a way that no longer felt distant, but knocking at her sanity's door. Then, the laughter of the doll turned dark, twisted into something horrendous and all-consuming. "You cannot escape the curse, it's alive within you." The light dimmed again, and Sarah felt herself spiraling, gravity losing its meaning. They were being pulled toward something insatiable, a new grotesque reality, where facing her demons could mean losing Lily forever. What if the only way to defeat this horror was to embrace the very darkness she feared? As the shadows reached out, a new terror shot through her veins. A reality she had never wanted to face was closing in. Would she dare delve deeper into that abyss for her child's sake? Or would the darkness swallow them whole? Time hung suspended in the air, and Sarah knew she had only one last chance to rescue both of them from their intertwined fates. As the black mass lunged, she thought, could she truly rewrite their destiny? And what would emerge if she did? Light bent and warped as if reality itself could no longer contain its own fabric. Shadows writhed, stretching and twisting, clawing at Sarah. The air turned thick and soupy, pressing against her lungs. Each breath drew in the acrid scent of malice, as if the walls themselves were drenched in it. "Mommy," Lily's voice faded, a haunting echo lost in the chaos. Sarah felt her heart shatter as she stared into her daughter's wide eyes, now glazed and vacant, utterly consumed by the presence of the doll. In a flash, the kitchen morphed. It was no longer the familiar space where they baked cookies and danced to silly songs. The walls pulsed like a living thing, intertwining memories tangled in a web of despair. "Mommy, help me." The cry came again, sharper, more desperate, igniting a fire within Sarah. The shadows surged closer, like hungry wolves ready to devour their prey. Panic clawed at her, filling her with an instinctual fear she hadn't felt in years. "Lily," she shouted again, the desperation in her voice cracking. "Look at me." As if her words were a lifeline, Lily turned. For a fleeting moment, the haze of shadows shifted, exposing the vibrant spark that was her child. But the grip of the doll tightened, and darkness snaked around Lily's ankles, dragging her back into the void. Sarah's soul screamed. She pushed back against the engulfing shadow, reaching, clawing toward her daughter, fighting against the suffocation of despair. "You will not take her from me." Her voice rang out, raw and defiant. As her words raced through the air, the shadows flinched, as if her determination held some power over them. But doubt stirred like a serpent in her mind. Could she really save Lily? Or was the darkness, ingrained deep in her heart, already too powerful? Mommy Lily whimpered again, tears streaming down her cheeks, a taste of innocence drowning in sorrow. "Don't you give in. I'm here." Sarah pressed onward, channeling the love she felt for her daughter. Make it a beacon, she thought, a beacon that cuts through the darkness. Just as she felt the shadows lapping at her, threatening to pull her down, she closed her eyes, gathering her strength. Images surged through her mind: Lily's laughter, the way her hands fit perfectly in her own, and their shared dreams of endless afternoons in the sun. Those fragments of light ignited a fire in her heart, a force potent enough to challenge even the darkest of shadows. "Lily, look at me, focus on our light. We can fight this," Sarah roared, plunging into the dense darkness pooling around them. With each word, the shadows recoiled as if hit by an unseen force, trembling in the presence of her love. In that moment, the doll began to rupture, the glittering facade cracking like glass, fragments of its power scattering across the kitchen. It screeched, a hideous sound that filled Sarah with a primal terror. "You can't save her. She belongs to me." "No," Sarah breathed, infused with unyielding conviction. But beneath the tumult of shadows, another sensation began to creep in. Doubt surged fiercely, gnawing at the edges of her resolve. What if they were bound to this darkness? What if it was this very duality, the light and the dark, what she had to embrace to save her daughter? The shadows flickered, considering. "Face your truth," the doll hissed, its grin widening with malevolent glee. "Only then can you release her." Just then, she felt a pull, sharp and disorienting. Reality twisted again, and a terrifying vision invaded her mind. Alternate lives where she had turned away from her love, where the doll had snatched Lily without a fight, where her daughter was lost forever. With an explosion of energy, a blinding light erupted from Sarah, a force of maternal instinct unlike anything she had known before. It surged like a wave crashing against a cliff. "Fight, Lily. We have the power to break this." But darkness bogged them down. The instant was slipping from her grasp like smoke. Could she truly challenge the shadows without surrendering to them? As she struggled to pull Lily back, the air thickened around her. "What now?" she thought, panic clawing at her chest. A jarring, echoing laughter filled the space, colder than winter's breath. "You will face me, Sarah. You have no choice." The walls trembled, and the shadows laughed, a sound so chilling that it sent floods of icy fear cascading down her spine. Embrace your darkness or watch her fall. Shivers raced through Sarah, the weight of the choice crashing over her. Here stood her moment, the crux of hope and despair tangled impossibly tight. Would she unravel it? Could she embrace her darkness to save her daughter, or let them both slip away into an eternal night? Questions clawed at her mind as the shadows lunged forward. Would she sink into the abyss, or would the light guide them home? Time teetered on the brink of reckoning. Fear wrapped tight around her heart, leaving only a whisper of what could be. What if the ultimate sacrifice lay not in fighting, but in embracing, aligning with the shadows she feared? Would that be the key to breaking the curse? The pulsating shadows twisted around Sarah's limbs as she fought against the suffocating gloom. "We can do this, Lily." She willed herself to maintain focus, to keep the light burning bright between them. But the darkness coiled tighter, whispering malignant promises that gnawed at her confidence. "Mommy, I can't." Lily's voice crumbled, each word a tremor of despair that shook the very foundation of Sarah's heart. The doll's empty gaze seemed to mock them both, its sinister delight resonating in every crevice of the home she had once cherished. Time twisted unnaturally. Seconds stretched into eons as the shadows encroached. The walls, once clad in cheerful yellows and soft pastels, oozed a dark, glistening fluid that dripped ominously onto the floor, pooling like a malevolent puddle at their feet. A sickening urge swelled inside Sarah. Fear and doubt danced hand in hand, torturing her resolve. "Don't give up, Lily. I'm here." Each word ignited flames of determination fueled by maternal love. With every ounce of strength, Sarah summoned their shared joy. Picnics, bedtime stories, laughter echoing through the house. Images surged in her mind, battling the shadows that sought to siphon away her hope. But the air grew heavy, and a menacing figure loomed from the depths of darkness. An unholy presence, its breath fetid and cold, encircled her like a predator stalking its prey. "Not all things can be saved, Sarah. You must face the truth of your heart." The voice slithered through the shadows, rich like black velvet, yet sharp as shattered glass. Sarah closed her eyes against the encroaching darkness, feeling the despair clutching at her throat. The pressure was unbearable, but she knew what she had to do. "You think I'll relinquish my child?" Her voice cracked but surged with newfound strength. A harsh laugh erupted, filling every corner. "Indeed, you must confront what you fear in order to claim what is yours." It echoed painfully, reminding her of all she had wished to bury, the moments of anger when she felt inadequate, the times she slipped into darkness herself, feeling unworthy of Lily's unconditional love. Lily stumbled back, terror radiating from her as shadows hissed around her, taunting her weakness. Sarah's heart raced wildly. Could it truly be worth it to face her own demons? But if it meant saving her daughter, she'd dig deep enough to confront anything. "Look at me," she demanded, drawing Lily's eyes back to her. "Remember who you are. You're my light." Each word was a lifeline thrown amid the chaos. The grip of the doll faltered, but the shadows retaliated with frenzied fury. Suddenly, the doll's cracked face twisted grotesquely as it pointed a long, thin finger towards Sarah. "You know what lies within you. It's time to unmask the truth." The shadows surged, weighty and dark, dragging at Sarah's spirit as if to expose her to all her flaws, all her sins. Sarah's breath hitched, fighting against the tide. Her own memories flooded her mind, relentless visions of failures, of spiraling emotions. She hissed through clenched teeth, "I'm not afraid of you. I won't let you take her." Suddenly, an icy wind howled as the shadows recoiled just long enough for her to see a glimmer of light fighting through. It streamed from her heart, pulsating with every heartbeat, pushing back against the darkness. But a second glance revealed a ripple of doubt, twisting through that brilliant flash. The doll giggled, a chilling sound that sent goosebumps crawling over Sarah's skin. "You think such light will save you? To truly embrace the love you have, you must embrace everything else, including the darkness." The shadows strengthened, and a howl of wind rattled the walls, shaking the very core of her spirit. The choice was at hand, the final moment looming. Would she succumb to her deepest fears, intertwine her essence with the very darkness she had fought? Terror gripped her throat, but another flicker of light beckoned from within. If she faced this, could she really save Lily? Or would it seal their fate in eternal twilight? Questions trapped her in a web of frantic energy, swaying back and forth between the weight of despair and the call of hope. As the shadows pressed in, they whispered incessantly, "What will you choose, Sarah? Fight or embrace? Only one can set you free." A pulse of energy flickered dangerously as Sarah steadied herself, breaths frantic and shallow. Would this final gambit be her undoing or her salvation? The air electric with suspense, she readied herself for a decision pregnant with consequences. Whatever lay ahead, she knew the reckoning was coming. And then, the walls trembled again, as an unearthly screech echoed through the house. The question hung palpable in the air. In that instant of truth, would she sink or soar? The shadows surged, merging into a thick fog around Sarah. Her breath came in gasps, a panicked rhythm that matched the frantic beat of her heart. "Lily, hold on to me," she shouted, desperate to keep the connection anchored amidst the swirling dark. But the shadows writhed, a living entity intent on separating them. As they clung to each other, Sarah felt an icy tendril snaking around her ankle. The doll's giggle echoed, taunting. "Your light, Sarah, is fading and your truth is not as pure as you wish it to be." "Shut up," Sarah shrieked, yanking Lily closer, but her grip felt slippery, as if time was collectively smudging their bond. Flickering memories of hurtful arguments and moments of weakness seeped into her mind. All the times she let anger overshadow love surfaced like poison. The air crackled with tension, a palpable weight pressing down on them. She could see the darkness thickening, a thing of its own with tendrils reaching for them, hungry and malicious. For a split second, Sarah faltered, visions of failure flashing through her, the nights spent working late, the times she chose herself over her daughter. Every mistake flickered like a strobe light, amplifying her doubts, suffocating her resolve. I'm not a bad mom," she stammered, a plea more than a proclamation. "I'm trying." The shadows hissed, "Trying isn't enough, Sarah. How can you save her when you can't save yourself?" The voices were a cacophony of mockery, each terrible whisper striking at the very core of her sanity. The doll's eyes, voids of darkness, bore into Sarah. "To embrace the light, you must admit your darkness. Only then can you truly live with love." "What do you want from me?" she shouted defiantly. "Everything and nothing." The laughter was haunting, echoing through the cavernous space of the house, warping her memories into grotesque visions. All the regrets, fears, and sleepless nights crashed around her like thunder, every pulse of darkness vying for her attention. "I won't accept you," she screamed, forcing her heart to chase away the fog. The light within her dusked but didn't die. It flickered brightly in the abyss, a candle fighting against a storm. But the shadows wrapped tighter, like a serpent eager for its prey. The warmth seeping from her heart began to cool as she recognized a chilling truth. "I can't run from this," she murmured, half to herself. Lily clung to her, trembling. "Mommy, I'm scared, don't be." "Sweetheart." Sarah's voice trembled but held a fierce determination. "We will get through this together." She squeezed Lily tightly, anchoring them both against the oncoming tide of despair. Yet just as hope danced in their grasp, the shadows recoiled, then lashed out, rending the moment of clarity. An agonizing scream echoed through the room, causing the floor to shake beneath them. The walls seemed to do a dance of agony, trembling in sync with her dread. "Embrace it," the doll roared, betrayal dripping from its voice. "Only in surrender can you find true power. Admit your failure." "No." Sarah's voice surged again, fueled by that flickering light. It pierced through the darkness, bold and fierce. She recalled second chances, hopeful moments, the boundless love that filled her, even tangled within her past. But the shadows retaliated. Instead of retreating, they reached higher, fusing her words into twisted echoes. "You break when you don't embrace the darkness. You lose it all." Lily gasped as a wave of despair washed over them, the grip of hope feeling feebler than ever. Did I have what it took to face this? She thought, feeling heat retreat, leaving her cold and trembling. "We need to fight," she yelled, her voice barely a whisper now, lost amongst the rising cacophony. The darkness threatened to swallow them whole. In that moment, just when Sarah felt most vulnerable, a memory flickered bright, a family picnic, laughter, light, all swirling within. "Let me choose." It burst forth from her lips, a raw declaration. But the shadows didn't like that answer. They pulsed around her legs, pulling her down, threatening to drown her voice in despair. "What will you pick, Sarah?" It rumbled, a mocking challenge. "Face the truth or be forever lost." The final echoes of the ancient forces weighed heavy in the air. The decision seemed too big to fathom, chilling her core and igniting her will at the same time. Would she hold on to hope, or succumb to the shadow? The ground shifted. Was it freedom she felt, or another trap? The walls were shrieking, her truth swirling among them. And in that harrowing instant, the darkness sensed her uncertainty, ready to consume her whole. A tremor ran through her, a flicker of light, battling desperately against the dark. What kind of truth would save them? What ultimate sacrifice would it demand? As the shadows closed in, Sarah felt herself teetering on the edge. Would the strength of her love be enough to pierce the crushing gloom? Or might she find herself lost in the depths of despair? The walls screeched as time collapsed, and the truth neared one that would either liberate or destroy them. The darkness clawed at Sarah, a black storm raging within her. Her breath came in frantic bursts as shadows weaved around her like thieves, seeking to snatch away her resolve. The room felt heavy, oppressing her as if it were a living entity eager to swallow the last threads of light. "I won't let you take her," she screamed, but each sound swallowed by the deep maw of despair threatened to turn into silence. Lily trembled near her, eyes wide with fear. "Mommy, I'm scared." The innocence in her voice cut deep. Sarah felt every heartbeat become a drum of urgency, echoing the undeniable truth. The fight wasn't just for survival. It was for their connection, the unbreakable bond of love that transcended even the darkest shadows. "Hang on, sweetheart. We have to fight together." Straining against the suffocating grip of the shadows, Sarah focused on Lily. "Remember the light, babe? Remember our time in the park? The sound of our laughter? We can dispel this darkness." But the specters laughed, a sound of scraping nails on a chalkboard, reveling in the mother's fear. "You can't fight what dwells inside you." The frigid voice sliced through the air, causing her stomach to twist. The tendrils of shadows writhed and coiled in anticipation, wrapping tightly around Sarah's ankles. With determination fueling her every ounce of energy, Sarah took a deliberate step forward, pushing against the gloom that threatened to crush her spirit. "No, I won't let anger or doubt control me any longer." Suddenly, she remembered who she was: not just a mother fighting a supernatural evil, but a woman shaped by her struggles and triumphs. In that realization, warmth flickered within her, igniting into a blazing determination, a light that could no longer be snuffed out. "Listen closely, darkness," she shouted, drawing strength from every positive memory she held dear, each moment of joy, laughter, and countless tales read before bedtime. "You will not take my child. You are nothing compared to the love I have for her." With every syllable, the shadows shrieked as if scalded. The light began to pulse, resonating through Sarah, wrapping around Lily like a protective cocoon. "I choose love over fear. I choose courage over despair." The very air crackled with energy, a powerful force emanating from Sarah, brightening the surroundings. The shadows hissed and writhed violently, shrinking back as the warmth spread. "No!" the doll screamed, its smile fracturing as Sarah glared at it. "You will face your true self. You are bound to me." But instead of shuddering, Sarah felt empowerment surging, growing stronger with every heartbeat. She would not yield. This was her reckoning. Lily's eyes lit up, reawakening from the depths of that haunting gaze. "Mommy," she cried, finding her voice amidst the chaos. "I'm with you. We can do it. Together," Sarah responded, extending her arms as a surge of light burst forth from their connection, a brilliant tide washing over them. The shadow shrieked, a symphony of anguish, unraveling like spun sugar. Each inky tendril dissipated into thin air, revealing the cherished home they once called sanctuary. The grip of the darkness loosened, freeing their hearts. And there it stood, the doll, now cracked and warped, an ugly parody of the joy it once represented. "You cannot destroy me. I am in you," it screamed, its voice fading, desperation clawing at the edges of its shadowy existence. "Maybe you're right," Sarah said, resolve solidifying. "But I embrace my truth. My darkness does not define me, nor will it define my daughter." She took a step forward, their light growing brighter as it pushed against every dark corner of the house. And as her voice rose, the weight of the oppressive air lifted. "We are forged by love, and I will fight for us." In an explosive surge, the light enveloped them, creating a vortex of warmth that seemed to burn away anything unholy. As the doll shattered, shards of porcelain sparkling in the air like shooting stars, the echoes of lost souls faded, leaving only a serene silence in its place. The world swayed around them, the shadows, retreating until they vanished like fog at dawn, allowing light to stream back into the cramped kitchen. "I did it, Mommy," Lily whispered, trembling yet full of wonder. "We did it." "Yes, my love," Sarah breathed, tears streaming down her cheeks as she pulled Lily into her arms. "We fought together. The light is always stronger." As they embraced, sunlight streamed through the window, turning their once ominous home into a vibrant sanctuary filled with warmth, a reminder of the love that could outshine any fear. The darkness lay behind them, a reminder of the battle won. But they were free now, stronger than ever, ready to embrace new days filled with laughter and joy. In that moment, they understood real strength comes from facing oneself and lighting the way, no matter how deep the shadows could run. As they stepped forward into a new beginning, Sarah held onto that truth with fierce love, their bond unbreakable, even by the darkest of moments. It was over, but a new journey lay ahead, filled with promise and the warmth of home. Thank you for joining us on this wild story. If you want to dive into more chilling tales and thrilling adventures, you need to subscribe now to the channel so you won't miss out on the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button right now, because it truly helps us reach more amazing people like you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and your own theories about the ending. Every voice matters. And share this video with at least 5 friends who love a good scare and need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to spread the word. Support the channel, because only true fans understand how important your actions are. Thank you.